Hey, are you not feeling well? Well, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna do whatever. Since then, I couldn't react at all whenever I saw Thomas. I'm home. Huh? What about dinner? It felt like the shadows were speaking to me, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. Hey, both of you. Please, say something to Mom. No way. Look, we don't need you in this house. My name is Madison, a 40-year-old mother of two. My husband Thomas is 2 years older than me. We got married when I was 25. We were colleagues at the same company. We started dating about a year after joining the company. We got married after I got pregnant, and I became a housewife at Thomas's request. He said, I'll earn enough, so just focus on taking care of the house. Back then, those words felt very reassuring. Then came our son Matthew, and 2 years later, our daughter Mia. Since then, my days were filled with household chores and parenting. Because I didn't have my family or my in-laws' house nearby to rely on. Both my and my in-laws' homes are more than an hour away by plane, and I moved away for college. My mom did come to help when I gave birth, but it wasn't practical for her to stay long. Looking back, I should have visited my or my in-laws' house during those times. But back then, Thomas's words, I want you to protect our home, had deeply rooted in me. My mom used to say, come back home whenever it gets tough. I, unaware, had rejected that idea back then. Thomas is now a sales director at a mid-sized trading company, and this year, with Mia entering junior high, I started a part-time job. Because Thomas had started saying, we should send Matthew to a private high school, right? For me, it didn't matter whether it was public or private as long as Matthew wanted to go. In my upbringing, efficiency was the only option, so I didn't really understand the difference. But it seemed to matter to Thomas. You might not know this, but in the corporate world, the university you graduated from can define your career. A good university isn't something you can get into through efficiency alone. It's got to be private. I wish he had said that when Matthew was entering middle school. Ridiculous. If there's somewhere I really want to go, I'll find a good prep school myself, Matthew would say, showing me various nearby prep schools, summer courses and winter courses he found online. Mia, adoring her brother, would peek over his shoulder and ask him to tell her if he found something good. Sadly, my children are better at gathering information than I am. So as a parent, the least I can do is not to hinder their educational paths. That's why I started working part-time, not just to rely on Thomas's income, but to help with the schooling expenses. But when I discussed this, is that so? Then let them do as they like, was all Thomas said. Do you just want them to get into a good school? That's about all parents can do, right? Was his only reply. Indeed, that's true. About what parents can do, but every time he said that, I felt more and more alienated. Perhaps it's because we spend so little time together, Thomas and I. Since Mia was born, the intimacy between us had dwindled. Of course, it might be because I was always busy and tired from parenting. Sometimes, Thomas would say things like, if it's too hard, you can ask someone to help. I appreciated those words, but that only made me try to handle everything on my own even more. I've even collapsed from trying too hard. That was when I finally broke down and called my mom. She hurried over on a 1-hour flight and helped take care of me and the kids for a while. Then I told her about what Thomas said about hiring a sitter. If you're okay with that, it's fine to leave them somewhere occasionally. You've always been like this, trying to do everything by yourself until you're overwhelmed. I felt comforted by my mom stroking my head as I lay there, yet I also felt pathetic. Sure, I wanted to accomplish on my own what Thomas had told me to do no matter what, and by night I'd be so exhausted I'd fall asleep. Before I knew it, we were in a state of neglect. It struck me as odd for a married couple, and by the time I realized, an uncountable number of years had passed. I did wonder at times, why won't you help out, play with the kids sometimes? But then another part of me would quash that thought. It's because Thomas is working hard that I can always be with the kids. I'm very grateful for that, so I feel I must do my part, even if it means living a life full of missed connections. Then one day, Mia, holding her laundry, came to me and said, I'll wash mine from today. Is that okay? Mia, who'd never really helped out before, asked. It was so unexpected that I said, What's up? I'm happy and grateful you want to make your own choices, but... Mom, you've been busy lately. No, that's not it. You see, Mom, I don't like washing mine with Dad's. I remembered this child is sensitive to even the slightest change in smells, often making comments like, Dad's laundry smells weird. I hate the idea of his smell transferring. Mom, you don't wear any perfume, so keep it that way. I'd always thought lightly of it, assuming she meant the hair products I usually use, and now she's in puberty. It was common to hear that daughters start disliking their father's belongings, but the story didn't end there. Mom, I need to talk. One evening, after returning from a part-time job, Matthew was waiting for me. The serious look on his face told me this wasn't something trivial. As we moved to the living room, removing our coats, I asked, What's wrong? It's rare for you to look so serious. Yeah, it's about Dad. I was surprised. As we sat facing each other on the couch, Matthew said, Hey, Mom, how much do you know? About what? Matthew sighed lightly. I thought so. What do you mean? Mom, you need to be calm and listen to me. Mia told me Dad's having an affair. What? An affair? I never imagined hearing such a word from the mouth of my 15-year-old. Mom, you really had noticed, had you? Well, Dad's always been all about work. Mom, please, face the reality. No matter how much of a workaholic Dad is, why haven't the four of us ever gone on a family trip together? Is his company that bad? But Dad's busy being a manager now. He is now, but before that, he was a department head. You know, there are kids in my class whose parents are always busy and rarely seen. But even so, they make up for it by taking them on overseas trips during the summer. What about us? Matthew had added. I fell silent. Thinking about it, he was right. I've been the one to take the kids to my parents' or the in-laws' house in the countryside for Christmas. We travel by plane, so we visit various places. There are decent tourist spots. So I thought that was enough, or maybe I was trying to convince myself. Dad's been irresponsible, I've always thought. That's not fair. He's supporting our livelihood. That's a parent's duty, right? What Mia and I are saying is, does he even care about you, Mom, and us? I felt like I was struck by lightning. So it had finally been said. And first off, Mia hated the smell of Dad's laundry. She realized it smelled like women's perfume. When? You know how she hangs out with friends on her days off? Even if she doesn't buy it, she looks at perfume testers, right? It changes, but the smell from Dad's laundry is usually that of women's perfume. Mia remembered the smells, being sensitive to them. And I have to apologize to you for something. What? I've been skipping cram school a few times, and then I followed Dad. What? You were out late at night? That's why I'm apologizing first. If I didn't, Mia might have started doing it, and Dad's not working late like crazy. Not exactly at closing time, but he leaves his company at like 7 p.m., and then there's a woman with him. A woman? They then head to the downtown area. Of course, I didn't have the guts to go any further by myself. Of course not, I exclaimed. Yeah, so that's all I can say, and I wanted to apologize to you, Mom. No. I shook my head vigorously. You're not to blame, but what comes next is an adult matter. Yeah, but remember this, me and I are on your side, Mom. Matthew stopped bringing it up after that, but honestly, I had a vague suspicion myself. I just didn't want to admit it. So I pretended not to see it, believing that was the way to protect this home. But it was the kids who couldn't bear it. This is not okay. I can't keep making the kids feel bad because of my selfishness. So I decided to hire a detective. The cost was more than I expected, but I think it was worth pouring my part-time job earnings into it. The results were as I imagined. As I looked at the evidence sent by the detective, I felt something inside me break. What had I been maintaining this family for, and for whom? I had thought that, though Thomas doesn't come home now, someday we could spend relaxed time together as husband and wife. Mom. How long had I been zoning out? There laid the documents I was looking at on my day off from my part-time job. I couldn't do anything until the kids came home. This... No. I covered the evidence with my body, trying to hide it from Matthew's view. Why? I want to know too. This is not for children to see. Come on, I'm 15 years old, you know? Still, no. Okay. Yes, that was definitely not okay, but what to do next? I couldn't settle my feelings. While I was hesitating, Thomas came home. Noticing him, I hid the envelope with the evidence in the kitchen cabinet. I'm home. When I saw him enter the room, huh? I involuntarily said. What is this feeling? I thought to myself. Sure, that's Thomas, my husband, but on the other hand, it's not my husband. No, it's not even human. Then what? Such thoughts circled in my head. My mind now comes to a conclusion. Ah, yes, this is something that shouldn't exist now. Hey, are you not feeling well? Well, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna do whatever. Since then, I couldn't react at all whenever I saw Thomas. His figure gradually lost its outline, becoming just a vague shadow, so I learned about what happened after that mostly from Matthew or Mia. I unconsciously started avoiding the laundry basket with Thomas's clothes. I only made meals for 3, but it didn't immediately become a big issue, because after all, Thomas rarely came home early. However, one day, while the 3 of us were having dinner, I'm home. Huh? Where's the food? Hey, both of you, say something to Mom. No. Why do we have to say something to Mom for you? Matthew addressed. Look, this family doesn't need you, Dad. Then Mia took out her cell phone and started calling someone. Hey, Grandma, it's Mia. He's here, come over quickly. Why is Mia calling my mom? Stop, it's too late now. Voices echoed. I just watched the scene unfold as if it were someone else's problem. About 10 minutes later, my parents and another man burst in. Mia had indeed called my mom, but so quickly. What's going on? Mom, what happened? Oh, Madison, you've gotten so thin. Mom hugged me. Dad approached the kids, hugged their shoulders, and patted them. Grandpa. There. Good job, Mia. We'll take care of it from here. Go to your rooms. No, I want to say to Dad myself that he's the one who drove Mom to this. Drove me to this? Hey, Mom, do you realize what state you're in? We called Grandma and Grandpa because you're broken. Broken? Broken? What do you mean? Look, Dad, Mom doesn't think of you as a dad anymore. Huh? Hey, Matthew, what are you talking about? Hey, Madison, my dad gently asked me. How many people did you cook dinner for today? What are you talking about? There are 3 of us, so I made food for 3. Oh, did you not eat yet? Let me make something for you quickly. My mom stopped me as I started to get up. It's not like that, Madison. I already ate, so you don't need to worry about me. I'm here to talk to this person. This person? I turned in the direction Mom was indicating. A vague gray shadow seemed to be moving. Your kids, they sent this to our house. Huh? Dad presented an envelope I didn't recognize in front of me. A detective? Yeah, you've forgotten that too, huh? Mom's lament sounded painful, but I couldn't understand why she looked like she was about to cry. That's your husband Thomas over there. The shadow stopped moving. What do you mean, Madison? The shadow seemed to be saying something to me, but the words entered my ears without making any sense in my head. That's what I've been saying because of you. Mom is broken. She can't see you anymore. Huh? Cut the jokes. Hey, Madison, you know who I am, right? Hey. I felt the shadow grab my collar, but still, it was as if hearing from a far distance I couldn't understand what was being said. It's no use, Dad. Just look into Mom's eyes. Let go of Madison, Thomas. Dad pulled me away from the shadow, and then my parents furiously talked at the shadow. Mom, you might not understand this now, but... Matthew grabbed both of my hands and looked straight into my eyes. We noticed something was off with you, Mom, and called Grandpa and Grandma. Off? Yeah. You couldn't stand that he was cheating, and now you can't see him. That's not right, Matthew. Your dad has been dead, hasn't he? Huh? A strange voice came from the shadow. And seeing my expression at that moment, Matthew's face looked like he was about to cry. See, Dad? I told you. The shadow slowly sunk into the ground. Meanwhile, Mia had prepared a tablet and seemed to have connected it somewhere. Grandpa, can you see? Oh, are you okay now, Mia? That voice belonged to my father-in-law. Grandpa, it's ready. Oh, long time no see. Likewise, I wished to visit you directly, but unfortunately my wife fell ill. I sympathize. She was quite fond of Thomas. She was too invested in her son. Hey, Thomas. A voice loud enough to crackle through the tablet sounded. Dad, what is it? What do you mean, what is it? Copies of the evidence of your affair have also arrived here. Must have been quite a shock for Madison. Dad, you're blaming me too? Silence. How many years has it been since you've come to us for Christmas? I never said that because Madison always defended you. I never asked her to do that. Still saying that, because of you. Madison couldn't help but complain about you not coming home. She regretted saying it even though she knew she shouldn't, and that's your excuse for not coming. Want me to read the documents? Could we handle that here? Right, let's make sure the son sees this. Then I'll say it. You and your colleague Evelyn have been noticeably close for over 10 years, causing rumors at work. Because you told her to stay home as much as possible, Madison stopped talking to her old colleagues, giving you free rein to continue your affair. You even went on trips abroad during summer and haven't shown your face here for the last 10 years, and Evelyn believes she'll marry you. She was 25 when you started dating, and now she's 35. She's not blameless, but she's prepared to pay alimony in case of divorce. And what about you? Wasted the best 10 years of her life, huh? That wasn't mentioned when you came here, but that's how it was, huh? Hey, Thomas. The shadows seemed to tremble. Sign the divorce papers prepared by the lawyer immediately, and for driving Madison to this point, you and Evelyn will pay damages. No bargaining down. Dad, please help me. I refuse. Listen, Thomas. Your mother collapsed and has been hospitalized since we saw the documents. Whose fault do you think that is? Huh? Mom? I wish I could punch you myself for continuing an affair for 10 years. How can you face me and say such things? Mom cries in her hospital bed every day regretting her upbringing. But you're my parent, shouldn't you help me? At your age, people start to think about caring for their parents, and here you are saying such naive things. Don't worry, we won't be needing your care. We're cutting ties with you. That's too harsh. Yes, it's good you're an only child. The little inheritance I had in mind for you will go to Matthew and Mia instead. Don't say that, help me. Enough, I'm hanging up now. Madison's dad will take over. Evelyn is also at fault, but it seems she was mostly deceived by this guy, but I'll leave that to you. Do as you please with the both of them. We will handle it thoroughly, don't worry, we won't cause physical harm. The tablet's video and audio cut off. Let's discuss the divorce then. It seemed the man who came with my parents was a lawyer. He entered the conversation. Do you intend to divorce, Madison? We're a family of 3 anyway. Yes, but to formalize that, you'll need to sign here. Right, even if the husband is dead, we still need to report it, don't we? Dead? Yes, it was only later, when I had time to think, that I realized I truly believed at that moment my husband was dead. He was gone, and somehow, as days passed, Thomas's affairs and absence had been replaced in my mind with the idea that he had died. That's why, even though he was supposed to be in front of me, I couldn't perceive him as a living person, only as a vague shadow. This was clarified later through counseling, so, despite the contradictions in our life, I hadn't noticed. All I thought about was protecting the life I had with my 2 children, that was all. Apparently, the decision not to bring Evelyn to the scene was made after discussions between my parents and in-laws. They probably thought it inappropriate to expose the children to Dad's mistress in person, especially Mia. Absolutely disgusting. Who was strongly against it. So the matter was left to the lawyer. Evelyn, having decided to settle matters, apologized deeply. I didn't think it was right. Waiting for marriage for 10 years was too long. Still, I clung to a sliver of hope. Regarding my deteriorating condition, I was always told by him that his wife was cold, but to think... It seems Thomas had always portrayed me as a cold woman who excluded him from the family to her. I thought my sympathy turned to love for him, but now I see I was merely deceived. Her voice was trembling with anger. Mr. Lawyer, I will pay the compensation to Madison fully. Moreover, I want to sue him for marital fraud. Is that possible? Do you have evidence? I recorded his words just in case such a time would come. Breaking up with him after the divorce? This incident has completely opened my eyes. I'll break up with him. She was a veteran office worker known for her reliable skills. The evidence was well organized and prepared. Her love turned into undeniable hatred towards him. Thomas ended up making an enemy of the woman he thought was on his side. Afterward, both had to leave their jobs. Though the circumstances were slightly different, their relationship was somewhat known within the company, just not officially acknowledged. The revelation that Evelyn was suing Thomas was significant. Why would you do something like this? I always thought you were stuck, waiting because your wife was cold to you, but no. You came with me on those summer vacations. You were the one crying about your wife telling you not to come. I was shocked to hear about her condition. Evelyn disclosed everything before resigning voluntarily. She paid the compensation in one lump sum, with a simple apology attached. "I'm terribly sorry." Yes, just that one line. Thomas also ended up leaving his job, deemed unnecessary by the company due to the lawsuit. The compensation to me and child support for the kids were initially covered by in-laws, later to be deducted from his savings and assets. Considering his age and previous managerial position, it's uncertain what job he could find now. But that's no longer my concern. Since the day I confronted Thomas, I was hospitalized for checks and counseling, half for medical exams and half for mental health support. It was decided I had no issues other than those related to Thomas. I moved in with my children to my parents' house. "I'm sorry for making you change schools at this time." "It's okay, Mom. Everybody was going to different high schools anyway, so we would have parted with everyone regardless." "I'm a bit sad to be away from my friends, but it's much better than living with him. My children's understanding is something I treasure." I continue counseling, benefiting from the absence of the source of stress. Once I'm a bit better, I plan to start working seriously for my children and myself.